Here's the argument, right? Go ahead. Our computing power is growing rapidly, right? We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video, right? Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life humans so well that you can recreate every single neurosynaptic thought you could have, but now you're in the simulation on the computer.
So,
including the perception.
Well, there you have it. Because then, so now we have enough computing power to imbue the Sims inside of the program with all of the human traits that we possess now.
Correct. Not only our human traits,
Not
but
only-
the world.
but the world.
The world itself.
Right.
And you don't have to have all the world existing there at all times.
Right.
That might be an unrealistic amount of computing power.
Right.
You just need
Enough of the world that they see around us.
that they see around you. So you want to start digging and having put the Earth there. There's a flag that goes up in the programmer. They say, "Oh, need more Earth." So
Right.
they put Earth beneath you while you keep digging.
It's like the Truman Show.
Yeah, well, for example.
Right.
Okay. Cool. From Minecraft, you can build
Or
stuff.
Minecraft.
Right.
Oh, that is Minecraft.
Right. Okay.
God, that guy's
So we went to the moon. They said, okay, let's make sure the moon is there. Okay.
Maybe that's why we can't travel faster than the speed of light. Because if we could, we'd be able to get to another galaxy
Before they could program it.
that galaxy.
Oh!
So much fun.
So the programmer put in that limit.
Put in the limit
Because that's
speed
fast
of
as
light.
they
We can't program fast. So we put in a limiter. The speed of light is a limiter so that you can't get to the next thing before we build it.
All right, so let me finish. That's good.
Go
That's
ahead.
good, Chuck. All right, so let me finish. So now that world evolves, and they develop computing power. Right. They say, we want to play video games. We're going to make it. So then they make a world, and they have so much computing power that they use to create a whole universe. Okay. And then they make a world. And then they make a world all the way on down. Right. It can be 1,000
All right, so far it sounds like it still works.
Right, so now close your eyes and which of these land, the first one that's real or the gazillion that are not. Yes, the system. Wow! Because then you missed that.
I did everything.
So it's something called Bayesian statistics, where you're allowed to introduce information that you already have available to you, even if you didn't measure it to be true. So we establish the likelihood that one day we'll have the power to do this.
Right.
And then that factors into the statistics.
Okay.
So there's 1 in a zillion you're in the real universe, and 999 zillion to 1
That's your simulation.
That's 3 eyes, 1 mind. And I don't want to be convinced. I didn't like it, and I was just begging for somebody to give me an argument that was cogent enough to undermine that entire reason. And I just came across. Okay. He's a good friend of mine, Rich Scott. He's a colleague of mine back in Princeton. Deep thinker, likes calculating grams of things, knows Bayesian statistics. He's heavily quoted in his book, Doomsday Calculations, by William Hounslow, the smart guy unto himself. And I am now convinced.
Now you're convinced.
Are you ready? Okay, go ahead. What do all these so here is what convinced me we're not in a simulation.
Okay.
Are you seeing it? All right.
I'm gonna hold.
Okay. All right. What do all those simulated universes have in common? They have the power to simulate themselves.
What I'm saying. They're simulators.
No, they have the power to simulate themselves.
Yes.
They all have in
They
common.
make a simulation.
They have that power
Exactly.
to simulate themselves exactly. Do we have that power now?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Which means that we can't send it. If we can't send ourselves into the future as a simulation,
Because we don't have that power yet.
so we can't continue the change.
Wait, so either we are the real one,
right,
or we're the one in the chain that's still evolving to try to then make a simulation within their own world. So the odds of us being a simulation goes from a gazillion to 1. I mean, to the likelihood of
Right. It flips.
It flips. 50-50. I'm good with that. That changes my life completely.
Yeah.
Okay? And no longer are your kids going to say, Dad, it doesn't matter, we're in a simulation anyway. No, you had an argument. You have a rebuttal.
Exactly.
I go, ready? Maybe these simulators have a side activity where they like reminiscing about days before you could simulate.
Yes. So now we're Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
Right. We're classic.
Yeah.
Classic gameplay.
So maybe we're just entertainment, like a historical exercise.
Right.
That's possible in principle. However, let's look at our own conduct with that regard.
Okay.
All right, think of a movie as a simulation, just for the sake of
Which
this
it kinda
conversation, which it kind of
Kinda
is.
is.
Ask yourself, how many movies have been made in a time before we ever knew how to make movies? Relative to movies made in the era where we know how to make movies. You can do the numbers. It's small.
Oh,
yes,
sure.
the Spartacus, there's the OK Corral.
Three Musketeers.
Those exist.
That type of stuff.
Okay?
Okay.
If we are any measure of the incentives of creating simulations, which all we can do with movies at this point, then they might have some historical thing, but there's way more interesting things and stories to tell in the era of simulations that exist post-simulation.
Right. And yeah.
So even if there are some period pieces that we might be,
It's always getting into something.
still
That's why we
most
use
of these
New Tide Hygienic
would be
Clean.
universes
Dad, I
made
went
after
exploring.
they could
You
simulate
look
themselves.
like you were in a swamp.
If
Right.
I was
our
under the
movie
porch.
making
Now I'm more worried
habits
about what
are
I
any
can't
indication
see.
of anything.
There are
So the
critters
chances are we're
and
not a little
magic-
offshoot,
and
like a
magical
little
creatures.
Statistically,
side project.
we could be just statistically, it's not
Probably
like
not
it.
invisible
Because
dirt.
I'm
we're throwing
going
darts.
to the
And
aquatic
most of the stories they're going to simulate
Have fun.
are going to be the ones
If you've got
that
to be certain it's
they
clean, it's got to be
that are in
Tide
the
Hygienic
era
Clean.
of the time they could simulate themselves.
So that still brings us back to we're probably either the first or we're on our way to being the next.
On our way to being the next. That's
Right.
correct.
One or the
That's
other.
That's more likely than any other possibility here.
Wow.
And so I can now rest well at night.
So no simulation.
Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm real. I think you're real. I think we're good.
Well, real recognize real. So yes.
I forgot about that expression. Real recognize real.
Real recognize real.
You
So
got it.
there you go.
Chuck, fist
Yeah.
bump on
Boom,
that.
boom.
Star Talk.
Yeah.
Signing out.
Metamorphosis is the process of dramatic change in the life of an organism. Dramatic change in the life of an organism. Energy. Metamorphosis. Energy. Change. Energy. Metamorphosis.
Coming at you.
Dramatic change in the life of an organism. Metamorphosis.
Vamos a explain todo.
Lucy. So here it is. So what I like doing to play these experiments, if it's not otherwise obvious, is I want to just disentangle some things you might have thought you knew, or thought you knew well, but not well enough. So there's some nuance to it, and I just want to sort of pump people's enlightenment regarding another sun.
I always like a little plot twist in these.
Okay, all right, that's what's good. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about force and pressure. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not talking about sort of emotional pressure. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Right. You know, my job has got me under so much pressure. I'm talking about physics. Right. By the way, another way we use those words in everyday life, we say, how much force are you showing on the battlefield? So that's another cultural usage of those two terms. Each of those words has a precise definition in physics.
Not to mention Space Force.
Yes, that's in there too. Okay. They don't call it space pressure. No, there's a space force. So a force is what you think it is, right? You push on something and you create a force that might set it into motion. Okay? And if it's something that doesn't move, but it's still fragile, you put enough force on it, you might break it.
Nice, yeah.
Okay? So forces make things happen. Mm-hmm. And when we say happen, we mean something changes about the object. Typically, it's set into motion. And Isaac Newton first wrote down an equation about this. Okay? He said force equals the mass of the object times the acceleration it'll get if you put that force on that object.
Gotcha.
Okay? So you use that formula. You say, well, here's an object. I'm going to put a certain amount of force, and it has to be like a net force. So in other words, if you put a force exactly opposite mine, then the forces cancel, and then there's no net force, so nothing accelerates.
Right.
So if everything is in balance, you can have very high forces operating, but nothing's going to happen.
Right.
But if there's a slight
grilled
imbalance,
spicy deluxe is the first
then
bite. Get
there
a
will
little
be
kick of
motion.
spice, and then that cilantro
And
lime
didn't
sauce
long
that kind
ago
of
we
balances
talk about
things
this
out.
like
Just
at the
delicious.
gym?
Chick-fil-A's
Why
grilled
is it
spicy deluxe
that
sandwich,
the
available for a
person
limited time only.
spotting
Real
for
guests pay
someone
for their
else
testimonial.
does not have to be as muscle bound as the person lifting the weights? Have you ever thought about that?
Every time I go to the gym.
Okay. No, I'm just saying.
Because somebody will say, hey, man, give me a spot. And it's always a dude who's 8 times bigger than I am. And he's lifting on a building. He's actually lifting a building.
Right.
And he's just like...
And just stand there in case I drop it, right?
Right, and he goes, hey, buddy, can you give me a spot? And I'm just like, no.
Any credit card
What am
can
I
offer
supposed
cash
to do
back,
when you're
but
lifting,
only Discover matches
And you're
all the
struggling.
cash back
You're
you've
not only
earned at the
if
end
you're
of your first
struggling
year.
and there's a point where you
It's
can't
like
lift it
getting
anymore,
one
you want me
of
to come
those
help
birthday
you?
cards
You
that's
want me
shaped
to
like
then take
cash,
over.
So you already
Okay,
know
here's
there's cash
why that
inside
works.
before opening it. But
Okay.
in this case, it's stuffed with your
Because
first year cash
if
back match,
all
and you don't
forces
even
are
have to send a
balanced,
thank you note.
Then
Cash back
any
match.
force will move
Only
it.
by Discover card.
No
Learn
matter
more
how
at
small.
discover.com/match.
So watch what happens. So I'm there.
Something
I'm
brighter.
on the bench. Just a bench press, typically, right? Because the weight is above the person's neck.
Correct.
And so this is dangerous. You don't need a spotter if you do a bent over sort of rowing lift.
No, because you could just drop the
You
weight.
just
and it's no big
drop
deal.
it. It's no big deal.
But when it's
we
over
need a-
your windpipe, it's like, hey, Chuck, can you spot me? And I'm like, hey, man, you want to die. It's okay.
You get my skinny ass to prevent you from dying.
Okay.
So watch. So here I am, I'm lifting, and that's getting harder and harder. All right? And now there's a point where I get it halfway, and I can't get it any further. And I say, Chuck, help me out here. In that moment, my upward force equals the downward force of those weights. And force on Earth from gravity is called your weight. So the weight equals the force I'm pushing up on it. If they're equal, now the thing has just stopped moving. Okay? It has stopped moving. So now you come along and say, here you go. And then you lift. And you lift your, I'll use one hand to do this. You lift it back up onto the right because the forces were balanced. Where previously, the person's force was greater than the weight of the weights, right? And so by greater, I'm in control here. I can push the thing away from Earth, away from Earth's urges to try to bring it back. When there's balance, then you break that tie, basically, and put it over there. That's why that works.
That's very cool. So we're teaming up on the weights, basically. Like,
Teaming up, right?
And
You
it
don't
doesn't
have to
make a
be
difference how strong I am. I can take two fingers and just whatever little bit I'm doing. Now you're winning.
provided that he's not losing that balance. Okay, if the weight is on its way down, you're gonna lose. It's not balanced. You have to counteract that, and then put in a little more to get the thing back up to the step.
And that's when I stand over top of him and go, sorry, man, you won't die.
You sound like this has happened before. No. All right, so just to get a sense of what forces are, okay, that's all. And so with regard to acceleration, if there's a net force, then the object's motion will continue to increase in speed. You have an acceleration. All right, so there you have it. One last thing. If all forces are balanced, it can still be in motion, it just won't be accelerating. Okay, so you can have no motion or constant motion. If there's a net force, it will accelerate. That's the point that's going on here. All right, so you're in your car and your foot is on the accelerator pedal and you're sticking to 60 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour. Well, what does it mean if your foot is on the accelerator pedal but you're not increasing in speed? You're not accelerating. The force the accelerator pedal is trying to put in the car is exactly balanced by the friction of the tires on the road and the air resistance. All of that is balanced, and you're maintaining constant speed. If you want to take it out of balance, you press the pedal even harder to overcome that balance, and now you're accelerating up to 70, you pass back down. So that's what's going on with force. And everybody learns this in physics 101 the first time. So now, what is pressure?
Pressure is when you have been dating for 4 years and goes, what are we doing here? Seriously, how many times can I take you home for Thanksgiving and explain to my parents that, we're not ready yet?
Pressure. You tell me that's pressure. If the doors that's not the kind of pressure I'm talking about here.
Oh, okay.
It's dating pressure. How about that? Right. So we're talking about physics pressure. So pressure intimately needs force to be what it is. But it's not the same thing. Okay?
Okay.
It's not the same thing. So, if you want to find out what it is, you got to look at the equation for pressure. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Have you ever seen the equation for pressure?
I don't think I have.
All right. Before I get to that, let me tell you a few things that are affected by pressure. For example, your knife set. How sharp are your knives? That is all about pressure. All about pressure. Okay? Are you going to fall through the ice on that pond as you walk across it? That's all about pressure.
And stupidity.
That's stupidity.
Right.
All right. So let's talk about this. Here you go. Pressure is force divided by area.
Oh.
Okay.
And I didn't even know that equation, but that makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. So watch. So, if I'm walking out onto a frozen pond and I don't want to fall through, if I have tiny itty bitty ass feet, then the area of the bottom of my feet is small. But what happens if you have a small number in the denominator of a fraction? The value goes higher, right? So pressure is force divided by area, and that area gets smaller and smaller. The pressure gets higher, and you punch through that ice and die. You need clown shoes. So when you have a big area, the force divided by a big area makes a low pressure. And so with low pressure, now you can get across the ice without sinking through. Improves your chances of not breaking the ice. This is what snowshoes. What are snowshoes? They're like the mountain man snow equivalent of clown shoes, right? Because the snowshoe is this big.
It's like a big net.
And it attaches to the bottom of your feet. And when you walk on it, your body weight is now spread over a larger area, and you don't plunge down through deep snow. You still sink a little bit, but not as much as you would have, and then you can actually walk. Have you ever seen the width of the paws of a polar bear?
They're huge.
Oh my God! It's like, my God, because there's some big mofos and they don't want to sink through the snow. Okay, they spend a lot of their time on ice, but this matters. What about your knives? When you go to cut something, you apply a force. How do you make that force as effective as possible to cut? You want the lowest possible area over which you're applying that force so that you have the highest possible pressure. Okay? You get pressure before you break. So what is a dull knife? You look at it under a microscope, it's all chewed up, it's flat, so your pressure, let's say you put 10 pounds of pressure on it, is spread over this long area over the length of the blade, and you try to cut something with it and you mangle the food, you have to press it even harder to get it through. A perfectly sharpened blade, what's the area of a blade edge? Tell me that. The area of a sharpened blade edge, it is so tiny that even the mildest force of that knife will cut through the food. That's why chefs are always sharpening their knives, because they want to increase the pressure on their food. Because they don't want to have to increase their force to get the pressure they want. They're reducing the area to get the pressure they want.
Sweet.
So this is force versus pressure, and I don't know how many people internalize this, feel it, think about it, but this distinction between force and pressure manifests everywhere. Everywhere. And by the way, it's why a tornado can explode your house.
Wow. Okay.
You say, because the wind is high. Here's what's happening. All right. It's very low pressure in the middle of a tornado. Okay. Really, really low pressure. And inside your house, you have slightly higher pressure than that tornado. Now, suppose that pressure difference is like 1 pound per square inch difference, let's say. Okay. It might be a little high for this example. Like 1/10 of a pound per square inch. I don't care. 1/10 of a pound. Okay? So inside the house, the air has not equilibrated with the outside of the house yet. The tornado comes, it sits on your house. Oh my gosh. Every square inch of your wall is feeling 1/10 of a pound pressing outward. So 10 square inches feels how much?
100.
No, it's 1/10 of a pound.
Oh,
So 10 square inches is a pound. Okay? 100 square inches is just 10 inches by 10 inches, that's 10 pounds.
Right.
Your wall is probably bigger than 10 inches by 10 inches square.
Yeah.
You keep adding this up.
And that pressure builds
You
on
get
top of
1,000 pounds of pressure.
Oh my God, that's more than the Kool-Aid guy actually exerts to get through a wall to say, oh yeah.
So what I didn't say it right. So it's thousands of pounds of total force spread across that wall, but the whole wall is only built to handle you leaning on it or to hold up the house. It's not enough to prevent the tornado from exploding your house, and all the walls blow out. Take a look at video footage of homes. They don't collapse.
They're turned into matchsticks.
There's matchsticks and they explode outwards. That is pressure at its most deadly. And so there you have it.
Now, see, this is what I'm talking about when I say plot twist. No one would ever think that you just talk about force and pressure and we end up right here. That's
Right, and by the way, it's how bombs work. What is a bomb? It sends a pressure wave, high temperature expansion of the air, because there's some, an explosion is a very high temperature, abrupt device, right? So it has to happen rapidly, so that it's like a bullet fire. It's a rapid expansion of gas, which shoves the bullet out. But if it's a bomb, there's no bullet, it's just expanding air.
Right.
Sometimes you can put in shrapnel, but air will do this. And the expanding air comes out, and now you have air pressure too high on one side of the wall versus the other, and that'll blow the wall inward rather than outward. Or if the bomb is inside the house, it'll blow the house up instead of it. Right. So this is pressure on the wall spread over the area. By the way, if all of that force were in one spot, you would just puncture a hole through the wall.
Right. That's so cool. Oh my God, so why can't we find a way? Everybody's always trying to figure out a way to predict where a tornado will go, which is almost impossible. Why not just have, like, a tornado airbag for you and I?
No,
was gonna say,
Chuck, you don't need tools to tell you where the freaking tornado is. Just look.
That's true.
You trying to see airbags exploding? Oh, there must be a tornado somewhere here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm overthinking.
You're overthinking that one totally, Chuck.
Overthinking. Yeah.
Okay, Chuck, we're done there. That's pressure versus force.
That's very cool. Not to mention, very, very cool song. Under Pressure.
Oh, yeah. The Queen. Yeah,
That's
very
right.
good, very good. All right, we got to go.
Okay.
Good to have you, Chuck. Tweeting at Chuck Nice Comic. I follow you.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. We're done here. I've been your host, Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist, and as always, keep looking up.
Wow. The Honda HR-V, CR-V, Pilot, Passport, and Ridgeline. They all have one thing in common. They never back off from a challenge. Available with all-wheel drive, the Honda SUV lineup has the performance you can count on and the capability to amaze. Ask Kelley Blue Book. They named Honda their 2020 Best Value brand.
Chuck,
Based on
Hey,
2020 brain
Neil.
image wars from Kelly Blue
Welcome
Book, visit
to the
kbb.com for more
Explainer Zone.
information.
Yes. The explainer zone.
yeah, not the Twilight Zone.
Not the Twilight Zone.
We're confused at the end.
Right.
The Explainer Zone.
Where you come out knowing more than you did when you went in.
Knowing some stuff.
Right.
And so I think there's no end to this, just so you know.
Good.
I'll be calling you forever. All right. So I want to talk about the sun, the color of the sun.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well,
And
you know me. I don't see color. So
You don't see color.
Sorry, we're already done here.
So here's the thing. If you're a school child and you to draw a scene and
Well, then get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together.
want to put the sun in the sky.
And if you gotta take it somewhere, take it somewhere, you know?
well,
take it
I
to the
was a
shit
very
store and sell
depressed
it.
child, so
Or put it in a
black.
shit museum. I don't care what you do.
No,
Just
you
gotta
knew
get it
about black
together.
holes. But
Yes, exactly. No. Oh, it's always a big
Get your
yellow
shit together.
ball.
It's always yellow.
You guys are the fucking worst. Your gods are alive. Fuck you. Fuck nature and fuck trees.
That the sun is yellow.
Yes.
And that's not true. It's not even close to being true. And so, yeah, I'm sorry.
Are there any kids watching? Please. You might want to leave the room right now because we're not sure if there's a Crayola available for you to draw your little scenes with the house and the grass.
Okay, so here's the thing. The sun in broad daylight is too bright to look at without risking the damage. So, no
And that's a good. You have perfect eyes.
So you don't do it. Right? So when is the time most people ever find themselves looking directly at the sun? When is it?
Well, the only times I've ever done is sunset and sunrise.
Sunset
That's
and sunrise.
it.
Exactly. So not only do we have the yellow crayon box from childhood, anytime we actually ever find ourselves looking at the sun, either on purpose or by accident, it's low on the horizon. The sun is rising or setting. And it has a deep yellow color. Sometimes it's so deep it can be red, the amber into red. So, and we know the sun isn't red. Of course, it's not red. We know that's an optical
This isn't
effect.
Krypton.
It's not Krypton, exactly.
on,
It's a red,
guys.
it had a red sun. So you know intuitively it's not
Show
red.
me what
But
you
somehow you don't know intuitively that it's also not yellow. Okay? What color is the sun? It is white.
Now, come
White.
on, man. Why you gotta do that?
White.
See,
What? What?
just like everything else, all of a sudden
Yeah, you know what I have
Chuck,
to say
not
about that?
everything.
we
is
gotta
a
white.
race commentary.
You know what? Seriously, we gotta. Must we whitewash all of history, including the sun? Really?
So,
Back
yeah,
to-
so it's not
back
yellow.
upstairs.
It's not yellow. Now, I can give you evidence of this if you need evidence, but I'm simply saying that as the sun gets, let's look at Earth and the atmosphere. The sun is directly overhead or anywhere near directly overhead. Let's call that one. Okay, top to bottom. As the sun gets lower and lower in the sky, the path of light through the atmosphere is longer. Okay? Because now you got there's an angle. And the lower the sun gets on the sky, the more and more atmosphere it has to pass through. And in fact, you can calculate how many equivalent atmospheres it went through. Okay, and you just need a little bit of trigonometry. It's a simple calculation. And if it's low on the horizon, it goes through 5, 6, 10 equivalent atmospheres
Gotcha.
when it's low on the horizon. So whatever the atmosphere is doing to the sun when it's high up overhead, it's doing it 10 times
times
that
that.
and more when it goes lower on the horizon.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see what the atmosphere is doing when the sun is overhead. In comes white light. Okay. And white light is composed of colors, as Isaac Newton demonstrated. All the colors of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, if you must, violet. Okay. So in it comes particles in Earth's atmosphere that happen to be the same size as the wavelength of light of the blue side of the spectrum, the blue, indigo, purple, violet side of the spectrum. Those particles preferentially scatter the blue out of the sun. Preferentially scatters it. So it traps away into the blue. Right? The rest of the light makes it all the way
inside
to the surface.
out.
But some of the blue gets scattered, and that's why we have a blue sky. The blue sky is stolen sunlight that would have otherwise passed straight through.
I'll turn you inside out.
How beautiful.
And now let's have the sun go over in the sky. Will there be more of this going on? Okay, more of this. That's why on cloudless days, you just see that the sun gets deeper. The bluest sky, that's like sky blue is light blue. Wow, serious light holes and mama.
I'll turn you inside out.
The twilight of the sunset. Now you're talking blue. Okay? So much blue is taken out. That we now, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, we took out blue, indigo, violet. What's left? Red, orange, yellow, green. Okay?
I'll turn you inside out.
You'll get an amber sun. And depending on how many particles there are, you'll get a red sun or you'll get a simple yellow sun on the horizon. And so you now look at we have a
I'll
yellow
turn you
sun.
inside out.
The atmosphere. Okay? Lying to you. And so here's what you do. Broad daylight, you have cirrus clouds. Okay, so it's safer to look up to the sun. Look at the sun in the middle of the day. Is it yellow? It is white. Very disturbing.
I'll turn you inside out.
So you look at a slightly dimmer sun behind the thin clouds as they pass. It's not yellow.
Right.
It's not yellow. Not only that, consider the following. All right. Now this takes a little extra thinking. Put your thinking cap on.
Okay.
And we in another explainer we address this, but now there's a different reason for it. If I have a sheet of paper and it's white, that means light reflected from it is an equal mixture of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. All those colors together in optics makes white. Don't tell this to an artist.
Right.
It doesn't work on the easel.
No,
right?
it's just the opposite in art.
It's the opposite.
It's just the opposite.
You don't get black, but you'll get like sludge.
You'll get sludge, right?
All right. So the fact that the page is white means all of those colors of light are hitting that page.
Correct.
So that when they reflect up, you see white.
Okay.
So a white light illuminating a white piece of paper shows up to you as a white piece of paper.
There you go.
Okay? Now, white reflects all colors. Let me put a red gel in front of the light. Now look at the paper. What color is it?
It's red.
It's red.
Kind of pinkish, but yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it reflects all colors, but now it's only getting red. It's going to reflect the red. It reflects all colors. The page is red to
Right.
your eye. Okay? Let's put a blue gel. Okay. So if the sun were yellow, then snow
Would be yellow.
would be yellow.
Which, by the way, sometimes snow is yellow and it's not from the sun. And whatever you do, stay away from that snow.
The fact that snow looks white
Right.
is evidence that it's being illuminated by white light.
Wow.
That white light is just reflecting something. There you go.
This is so disturbing. So
I'm just trying to be honest. I'm just trying to put it out there. And by the way, you want to go up a notch? Are you ready to go up a notch on this?
I don't know if I'm ready to recognize
I don't think you're ready. Okay. So, white is the sun.
hate where this is going on.
Relative to incandescent bulbs. Okay? You kids will have no memory of incandescent bulbs. But old timers, if you're over 25, you're an old timer. You remember bulbs that would get hot when you put them in.
It was a bulb with a little piece of wire in it.
Okay.
The wire used to light up.
This sounds like a Ken Burns special. The guy on the porch.
Right. I remember the days when they had a bulb with a little piece of wire in it. Now that wire would light up and get hot.
And we pulled the switch.
We pulled the switch and it gave off light. Now at first it looked like magic.
Okay, we gotta put you on the list. Next Ken Burns special. The origin of the light bulb. So we're looking. I forgot what. Okay, okay.
Say incandescent bulb.
Okay, incandescent bulbs. Incandescent bulbs, when you turn them on, the temperature of the filament is not as high as the temperature of the surface of the sun. And so the higher the temperature, the more full that spectrum
For
becomes.
thousands of
So if you look at
years,
the spectrum
the
of a
people of
bulb
our planet
in your
knew
house,
nothing
an
but
incandescent
peace.
bulb, it's very weak in the blue section. There's
was
some
a
blue
time
there,
of unity
which is why blue
great
still looks blue under
abundance.
that light. But the blue is very weak
Until one day,
under an incandescent.
everything changed.
Okay? So, if you bring out film that needs the full complement of blue, and you take a
Darkness
picture under
spread like
incandescent lights,
midnight
everything is
oil.
going to be better.
Consuming all in its
That
path.
film, if it needed the blue, is called daylight film. This is why there's a difference. Again, I'm only talking old times. There was indoor film, tungsten film,
As day
and
turned
outdoor
to
film.
night,
And the outdoor
and
film
light turned
was
to
color
dark.
balanced to get the entire spectrum of the sunlight. If you took
Eyes
indoor
that
film
had
and
been
put it
watching
outside,
for so
that
long.
indoor film is too sensitive to blue because it's making up for the feeble blue coming out of a bulb, and it goes out and it's getting all the blue it ever wanted. You have indoor film, take a picture outside, everything looks blue because it was hypersensitive to blue, and the sun has plenty of it. Okay, so to a photographer, sunlight is blue. It's highly blue. And they have to correct for that if they're going from indoors to outdoors. They have to redo the color balance on a white sheet of paper to account for the difference between indoor lighting and outdoor lighting. Now, here's where they all got it wrong. But they're not going to change it because they're deep into it. You ready? Now we have the blending of science and technology with art. Ready? Here it is. If an artist draws an Arctic scene, what colors come?
White.
And color.
Blue.
Blue. If an artist draws Dante's hell, what color is heaven?
Red and orange.
Red and orange. Okay, so emotionally, we think of blue as cold and red as hot. Photographers will tell you we need to reduce the temperature of the light, which means make it colder emotionally. But the only way to do that is to get more blue in it, which means upping the temperature of the tungsten that they have shining on you. And in the old days, that meant a hotter light bulb. So they said we need a cooler scene, they had to have a hotter bulb. We need a warmer scene, they had to have a colder bulb to do that.
Wow.
And that language is still embedded in that entire profession. Yep.
That is true.
The opposites, and they meet in the middle and they deal with it. The opposites of art and technology, and science, and the physics of light. All right, we gotta call it quits there.
Alrighty.
Always good to have you, Jeff. This has been the Explainer Zone. I'm sticking with it.
I like it.
Keep moving.
Monday.com got you covered. Manage your production team in one place, share assets, and make sure everything happens on time. Go to Monday.com and start your free trial today.
Back in your face, Chuck.
Well, virtually, yes. It's because you move closer to the camera. It's not as intimidating as it is in real life. You're a pretty big guy, so in real life that'd be intimidating. But virtually it's just like you're like making a funny face to me.
You know, I grew up in the street. If people want to get in a fight, but you did get into a fight, but you didn't want to fight the person, you pretend you were angry and you're badass, but you say, "Hold me back!"
Right.
Hold me back. Yeah. And you would run behind people to have to hold you back.
Nobody's touching me. I said hold you back.
Yeah, it's not a hazard. I need you to hold me back.
Right.
So he don't hit me. Right. So, what am I talking about? I'm going to talk about this. Okay?
I like that place.
Okay, good. So, how long does Earth take to rotate on its own?
From what I've been told, 24 hours.
24 hours. In fact, we kind of defined 24 hours. Right, so that's how you divide it. Okay. So, as you might have guessed, it doesn't take 24 hours. It actually takes 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds.
Really?
Yes.
Now, wait a minute.
Wait, hold on. So let me just be clear about what I mean.
23 hours.
Get rid of the entire solar system and watch Earth rotate. Okay? And stand there and time it. That spot that's in front of you will come back around in 23 hours, 56 minutes.
One full revolution.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's called a sidereal day. Sidereal is swing star. So you're measuring with respect to the universe. However, we know the find a better place to hide. In the night sky. Why I keep on stamping. Animal warfare, Sun Tzu, body dharma, embody armor, move like karma, come to you. Why? I'll tell you why. Because in the time it took Earth to rotate, 23 hours and 56 minutes, it actually moved almost 1 degree in its orbit around the sun. So it rotates back to where its previous line, but it has to turn a little bit extra to get back to the same. A little bit extra to put the sun back in the same spot. Going side to side.
That's fantastic.
Sorry, I lied when I was trying to find a better place to hide. Atlantean champion, scaling the Grampian MCs are just letters. Why I keep on stamping. Animal warfare, Sun Tzu, body dharma, embody armor, move like karma, come to you, come to you, come to you. Okay, and how many degrees in a circle? 360. Yeah, so it's about a degree a day. It's about a degree a day. Yeah, so technically it's 1 degree and 5 Oh, wow. That's basically a degree a day. And in that degree, you have to turn that little extra. So just imagine you keep having it turn your head up a little bit extra amount. Okay.
Move just a little bit, so now you gotta look back just a little bit.
Correct. Well, let's keep going. Okay? All right. Earth's orbit around the sun is not a perfect circle. Oh, by the way, so the first day is a sidereal day. The second day is a solar day. Now, Earth's orbit around the sun is not a perfect circle. Which means sometimes we're farther away from the sun. When we are closer, we are moving faster in our orbit than when we are farther away. Okay. That's how gravity works. So, it turns out that extra 4 minutes is not the same if we're farther from the sun than if we're closer to it. Because we move more than our allocated fraction of a circle when we're close to the sun and less when we're farther away from the sun. Okay? So, the length of the solar day is changing continually throughout the year. Wow. And sometimes it's less than 24 hours, sometimes it's more than 24 hours. So sometimes the sun gets to its highest point in the sky before thought noon, and sometimes it gets. So what we do is we just average that over the whole year. Say, sun, you are average 24 hours, and there you go. By the way, if you ever look at sundial, there's a map on the sundial that corrects for the sun being early and the sun being late. You either add or subtract up to 15 minutes of the day from what the sun time reads in order to get the clock cycle. Wow. Right? Every sundial has this as a figure 8 for an NLM. I don't want to talk about NLM right now. So, what you have on your clock is the average length of a day over the 365 days of the year. All right, so now we define that as 24 hours, each hour 60 minutes, each minute 60 seconds. Got it. Okay. Well, what is defining this? Well, it's the rotation of the Earth.
Right.
Okay?
Makes sense.
Well, all right. How stable is that? Even in the perfect average that we're taking. You'll never know, will you? Because you're using Earth to define the time.
Right.
Okay? If Earth is your measure,
Galactic zoological catalogue of a species called Elasmobot, which is supposed to possess the power to alter their molecular structure into other life forms.
watches, they would boast. The woman is not what she appears. It's so accurate, it's accurate to 2 minutes of work.
That is not a good advertisement.
Okay, well, that is what, she watches with 10 minutes a month. You have to set your watch every day. Why do you think heist movies would always say, synchronize our clocks.
Right.
They knew that the clocks were not keeping good time. Earth was keeping the best time. So now, pose the question. Maybe Earth is not the best time. Let's offload the responsibility of keeping time to something like a vibrating hammer. So we did that. Cesium 137. There's an electron transition between energy levels that has a very precise frequency. Okay? Very precise. You can measure. What's good about that is any lab can get some cesium and measure this and then define the length of the second in their lab. Okay? When you do this, you multiply it by 60, you multiply that by 60 every hour, you multiply that by 24. You do this, and you find out that Earth is slowing down.
You know, it's kind of old. I'm just saying.
It's been had on.
It's a long time.
It's tired.
If you're 4.6 billion years old, you can slow down a little bit. I'm just saying, you might lose a step on your head.
That's very sweet of you. It's very geriatrically sensitive. So you only would know that we're slowing down once you offload it.
Ignore him. Tell him to calm down. Ignore him. Yeah.
That
fucking idiot. What do you think? Bro, I can't believe that you've done this, man. You lot are
actually works to slow down the rotation of the Earth.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because the moon is causing these tides.
Right.
Okay? And we're rotating faster than the moon is orbiting us. So the moon is tugging on tides backwards on our attempt to rotate. Okay?
It's almost like there's a counterweight.
A counterbalance, exactly.
Yeah, counterbalance that's pulling
against us.
Wow.
So, tides are slowing down the rotation of the Earth, and in response, the moon is spiraling away from us by a couple of inches a year. Okay, that's in response to Earth slowing down. It all relates to what's called the conservation of angular momentum, but it's a big ballet. Okay, and so we've been slowing down. And so what we could do is say, let's redefine the second, the length of the second, so that we always have 24 hours and 60 minutes and 60 seconds. But that's messy. Every year, here's a new definition of the second, folks. Go to your lab, redefine the cesium atom. No.
It's much easier to accept the fact that, we're breaking up with the moon, but it's just taking some time.
Breaking up is hard to do.
Everybody has to be on the same page since the breakup can be a
that's a nice way to put it. So the way we compensate for this is we add a leap year.
It has to be every 4 years. We had a
No. Did I mention years at all? I'm talking about days, dude. Days.
Every 4 days?
No. What I'm saying is, we monitor when we have fell behind by a second.
Okay. So when we know that we lost the second based on our atomic measurement.
Correct. Then internationally, we say time to throw in a leap second.
Now we
and by convention, we throw it in on June 30th or on December 31st. And we can throw in one at each time if we needed it. Okay. Since 1973 or 4, something like early 70s, there's been 24 So when they're going to add a leap second, they choose which of those days they're going to do. When they do so, that final minute has 61 seconds.
Nice!
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And so this is what we do.
The longest minute of...
Yes, it's the longest minute because it's actually 61 seconds. Okay, so newspapers like having fun with this. Say, this year will be slightly longer than other years because you have to throw in the leap second. The leap second happens on Greenwich time. So for us, it would take place at like, I guess, 7 p.m. because we're 5 hours behind them. Right. So I was at a dinner party once in the June 30th leap second, and 7 p.m. that's when you're having dinner. And I said, pause! I got out the atomic clock, and we just watched that sucker tick. 61 seconds went by. We toasted it with a sip of champagne, and then went on our way. So.
Okay, why are you walking around with an atomic clock?
No, I have access. No, I have access. Let's not. Just. I got people.
Okay, right on.
All right. So a couple more things. Other things that can change the rotation of the Earth, not just the tide and sloshing, right? But here's one for you. You ready? All right. You've seen skaters who want to speed up their speed. So what do? Their hands start out extended,
that time
and they start with a slight
is linear,
right?
that it proceeds eternally and uniformly into
So the farther the mass is, the slower they will rotate. The closer it is to the rotation,
past,
the faster.
present, and future.
If Earth has an earthquake,
It's nothing but
and one of the continental slabs shifts north, okay? Then there's mass on Earth's surface that used to be closer to the equator the day before and has now moved closer to the pole. That will have the effect of speeding up the rotation of the Earth. Large animals that migrate, okay, will change where the mass of the Earth is from the northern climes down to the south, and they're farther away from the rotation of the axis. So not only does the tide affect the rotation of the Earth, seasonal migration of animals affects the rotation of the Earth. And so do earthquakes, so do volcanoes, and anything else that's remapping the surface of the Earth. You know what else will change it? The melting of land glaciers.
We're in trouble.
Okay, you got Antarctica has land glaciers as it melts. What used to be right there near the pole now melts and goes closer to the equator. That will slow down the rotation of the Earth. Because that's like the skater wringing their hands.
are not consecutive.
So all of these factors combined,
They are connected in a never-ending circle.
And principally could decrease depending on what's going on.
Right.
Then I had this diabolical idea. We go set up jet engines, anchor them to the Earth, face them either to
Everything
the west, and ignite them.
is
And then
connected.
exhaust would speed up or slow down the Earth. We might do that. Then I did the math on that. It's not enough.
You would have made a good Bond villain, though.
It's like Lex Luthor saying, "Let me create an So you geoengineering is but in principle, you could do that. But if you take the greatest engines and fire them, the mass of the Earth is so huge, you just have essentially
no effect at all.
Yeah. So I'm just saying the rotation rate of the Earth is susceptible to all these small effects that can add up, and we deal with it. Deal with it. We throw in leap seconds.
23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds.
That's our rotation rate in the stars.
Do they stars?
It's exactly 24 hours on average, and that average is changing.
Right. Oh man, that's so cool. Man.
Yeah, just to show you that smart people think about this stuff
Yeah.
and solve it so you don't have to. Because everyone, you just think everything, it works. Oh, the computer tells me what the right time is, and everything, the bank knows what time it is, and my GPS. We've got top people thinking about this stuff.
So before the atomic clock, nobody knew what time it was.
That's why they synchronized clocks at the beginning of heist movies. Everyone had different times, dude.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh man, I wish I lived back then. I know. We're like stuck in 7th grade. As I can tell.
I'm not 10 minutes late, you 10 minutes early. So that's all I gotta say. I mean, it's a fascinating thing. That is. And I love thinking about it.